Lawrence has been in prison for more than 2 decades, serving time for the murder of Donna Maher and the robbery of the Jackson Creek Saloon. Last Friday, a judge overturned that conviction, clearing the way for the release of Lawrence and his co-defendant, Paul Jenkins.
The order freeing Jenkins and Lawrence was filed this morning after Lewis and Clark County District Judge Kathy Seeley overturned their convictions and ordered a new trial.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Convoluted. I'm Jesse Asher, and today I am going to tell you about 2 men from Montana who were exonerated for the murder of 34-year-old Donna Maher. Montana City, Montana, a little town just outside of the Montana capital, Helena, right there in the beautiful Rocky Mountains. In Montana City, there's a little saloon currently called the Jackson Creek Bar and Grill. I actually used to live not too far from there. I lived just south of Montana City. I used to go to the gas station right across the street all the time, and I didn't know about this case before when I lived there. Beautiful area, of course. I'd highly recommend taking a trip out to Helena and the surrounding small towns. The victim, Donna Maher, her last name is spelled M-E-A-G-H-E-R, but I'm basing the pronunciation off of an ABC Fox Montana video where they pronounced it Maher, so I'm going to say Maher. She was the sister of the bar owner and a mother of 2 daughters, and she was on the closing shift on the night of January 12, 1994, according to the National Registry of Exonerations. During that closing shift, David Wayne Nelson robbed Donna Maher and the saloon and kidnapped her between the time of 12:45 a.m. and 1:36 a.m. He apparently took around $3,000 during the robbery, and according to ABC Fox Montana, a woman later was walking along Colorado Gulch Road and found a body which they came to identify as Donna Maher. According to the National Registry of Exonerations, she was found at about 9:30 a.m. She was bound with a cord. An earring of hers was recovered, and the autopsy later showed that she had been struck about 10 to 12 times in the head with the claw part of the hammer. Sorry, that's kind of graphic. I will post a screenshot of the Google Maps area of Helena and Montana City and also that Colorado Gulch Road. And according to Google Maps, it's about a 13-mile drive from Jackson Creek Saloon or Bar and Grill. But in the Montana Innocence Project and a couple other sources, they say her body was found 18 miles away. So I don't know how far up Colorado Gulch Road it was, but I'll still show you a map to that area. Now, David Wayne Nelson, he actually got away for a while because he is not the main subject of this episode. And before I dive into the wrongful conviction side of this, because obviously I want that to be the main focus, I still want to tell you a little bit more about David Wayne Nelson to kind of set the plate, because he ultimately went on to be convicted for a double murder in 2015, and there were claims that he may have killed many more in multiple different states. And according to the National Institute of Justice, the victims in the double murder were, and I'm gonna probably butcher these last names, so I apologize in advance, but the victims were Gregory Gionanetti, he was 57, and Beverly Gionanetti, who was 79, and they were both beaten with a hammer in a similar fashion. And according to the Seattle Times, David Nelson had apparently bragged about being a hitman and claimed to have killed people in 4 other states, including my current resident state of Florida. But none of these have been proven, so it is unknown if there's any truth or how many possible victims he's involved with. Now we're gonna get back to the wrongful conviction side of this episode. And as I stated before, Donna was robbed and kidnapped between the time of 12:45 a.m. and 1:36 a.m. Police were able to uncover that the cash register showed the last payout was at 12:45 a.m. They also uncovered that the casino machines were all opened quickly beginning at 1:26 a.m. Donna didn't come home, and that's when her family became concerned, and they went to the saloon themselves, and upon arrival found that the door was unlocked, the machines were flashing, and her vehicle was found with the keys still in the ignition, and the door was open, and it was actually found behind a different building. Minor discrepancy I noticed is that in the Montana Innocence Project, they wrote that Donna's vehicle was found behind the building, so it didn't really clarify that it was a different building, but I don't know if that's too important. Other sources stated that the car was found behind a different building, and according to an appeal document, the state of Montana versus Paul Kenneth Jenkins, her car was found behind a building across the street, possibly that gas station I used to go to. They found Donna's body the same morning around 9:30 a.m. along that Colorado Gulch Road. Unfortunately, the crime went unsolved, and according to ABC Fox Montana, 9 months after the crime, a tip via a phone call came in. Dan Nipschild, it's Knipschield. I'm just gonna say Nipschild. The father-in-law to 31-year-old Freddie Joe Lawrence, he said to investigators that Freddie had been involved in the Donna Maher robbery and murder. Freddie Lawrence was just a normal family man. He was originally from Texas, and he was the father of 2 girls. So there was a Crime Stoppers reward, which rewards are not always the best thing. And according to ABC Fox News, it was about $3,300. Dan Nipschild was trying to collect that reward, so he agreed to conceal the tape recorder and talk with Freddie Lawrence about the robbery and murder. He failed to get a recording, but told police and investigators that Lawrence had admitted to him that he committed the crime with 39-year-old Paul Jenkins. Bullshit. According to the Montana Innocence Project, there was a supposed malfunction, and that's why there was a failure to get a recording. And because of Nipschild's claims, the police followed up by visiting Freddie Lawrence in jail in West Yellowstone, Montana, where he was being held for a traffic violation, completely non-related crime. Naturally, Freddie denied any involvement, but he did implicate 2 other men. The men that he implicated were Jimmy Lee Amos, who was actually mentally challenged, and Paul Jenkins, who, with his wife, was taking care of Jimmy Amos. After Freddie Lawrence implicated those 2 men, he recanted his statement after being transferred to Jefferson County Jail in Boulder, Montana, another town not too far from where I lived. The authorities traveled to Oklahoma to interview Paul Jenkins, his wife, and Jimmy Amos. Paul's wife Mary wound up being interviewed for around 8 hours and claimed that Freddie Lawrence borrowed a crowbar and that she went with Paul, Freddie, and Jimmy to the Jackson Creek Saloon in Montana City, where she waited outside. She saw through a window that Donna Maher was tied up. She also claimed to have heard a hitting noise and then saw Donna on the ground and saw Freddie hit her again. Mary claimed that Amos was the one to transfer Donna to the car. But of course, the authorities claimed the interview with Mary was recorded, but it was never received in the mail in Montana. So just another recording issue. Naturally, in 1994, Freddie Lawrence and Paul Jenkins were charged with deliberate homicide, aggravated kidnapping, and robbery. And I'll reiterate something from the ABC Fox Montana. There was no murder weapon, there was no DNA, there was no verified witnesses in the final moments of Donna's life. And that is where I'm going to leave off for the first part of this story. In part 2, I will cover everything that happened after Freddie and Paul had been charged. Thank you guys so much for watching to the end of the video. Make sure that you stay tuned for the second part so you can learn what happened, follow up, like, subscribe, share, comment, all that stuff. More importantly, check out the Montana Innocence Project and donate or volunteer if you are able to. I'll have their website linked below. Also, of course, check out the National Registry of Exonerations. You can read about other exoneration stories. That's usually where I go for a lot of information, and every source that I use will be below. Bis später, adios, au revoir.